Imagine this. You're playing a ranked game as an AD carry. Maybe it's your promotional game. It all goes well and you're winning your lane until a Katarina roams you from the mid lane with no warning and one-shots you and your support.
Nah, man, I'm getting so f***ing triggered. Who the
game's lost immediately in your eyes, and the only thing you want to do is blame a mid laner, leave the match, and throw the monitor out of the window. This is you tilting. The best way to describe tilt is frustration that results in aggression and spirals into the uncontrollable rage that feels impossible to quit. It's an emotional state that can turn a close match into a blowout defeat, and even the most skilled players into raging messes making the silliest mistakes. It can feel like a dark cloud that descends and obscures your judgment and replaces any other emotions and thoughts. But the good news is that tilt is neither inevitable nor unquittable. There are strategies and techniques you can learn to prevent tilt from taking hold and to recover quickly when it does. In this video, we'll explore the psychology of tilt and learn how to master your emotions and become a tilt-proof gamer. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more gaming and esports content. While the term tilt originates from pinball, it was popularized by the poker community that used tilt as an explanation to why some players would continue to play despite suffering a loss after a loss. You've most likely experienced it yourself, queuing up for a new game straight after a painful loss, and again, until your game history turns all red. Chances are the lose streak ends there, but not because you start winning, but because you leave the game at all for some time. Players often associate tilt with the feeling of losing control over the game and their own gameplay, when they make questionable decisions and mistakes that wouldn't normally happen to them. How did they get there in the first place? The timeline looks like this. Something bad happens in-game. Your own mistake, a toxic teammate in chat, or anything else that triggers you. Negative emotions fill you up, anger, frustration, annoyance. And you bite back with what feels right at that emotional moment, by being toxic in return, or quitting the game, or trying to push through the game while agitated.
Yeah, don't worry, it's okay, I don't care.
That's also when you start typing in the chat, screaming at your monitor and smashing your pool keyboard. Another possible response seems like the opposite of the above, but it's still tilt, and it's the type of tilt I personally suffer from the most. It's giving up. This type of tilt also goes in a spiral progression, but your frustration is mixed with defeatism. This type of tilt usually occurs when the triggers are something beyond your control. Say, your teammate on the opposite side of the map keeps dying repeatedly. He's giving the enemy team so much advantage that you know they will be impossible to fight later on. And at the same time, he's so far away from you that there is nothing you can do to help. If you've ever been in this situation, you probably remember the first thought that comes to mind when you look at the score. Oh no, we've lost. You feel helpless. So helpless, in fact, that you completely give up and stop looking for any solutions for the game. Good news is you're probably less likely to smash your keyboard in this scenario. Bad news, it's still very harmful to your game progression and to your mental state. Now that you know how the two most common types of tilt look like, you can analyze your own behavior in the game and understand which one you're more prone to. The next step in getting rid of tilt once and for good is to find out what causes you personally to spiral. Every player is unique in what things will trigger a tilt reaction in them. For some, a message in the chat will immediately make them see red. For others, it takes more than that. It's very important, however, to identify what exactly ruins your in-game mental the most. And don't worry if your answer sounds like everything, because we're in the same boat here. According to this research aimed to define tilt in esports, the most common trigger for tilt among the respondents, who were all League of Legends players, was their own teammates. This includes team members who are bad players, who make mistakes, are trolling or refusing to communicate with the rest of the team. Interestingly enough, the second most common tilt trigger seems to be players in general, and this usually means not how they play, but what they say. Toxic chat users, spammers, angry guys screaming at you in the voice comms have a chance to fire you up very easily, especially if the game doesn't go too well for you in the first place. Another huge trigger is going to be you. Yes, you. Studies show that your own mistakes can be a cause for your spiral into frustration, or you'll find yourself either raging or crying, incapable of playing at your full potential anymore. You can become your own biggest enemy and the reason for continuous loss streaks. But why do some people react so badly whenever something like that happens in their games, while others seem undisturbed at all times. It's because they have a different approach to the game, and I'm going to teach you their methods. Here's your first task on your way to becoming completely tilt-proof. Look at all the recent games in which you have tilted, and try to figure out what exactly happened right before you fell into the pit of uncontrollable emotions. Chances are you will see that some very specific answer will appear more than the others. Whatever it is that triggers you the most in each game, write it down and then do so after every game where you tilted. Maintaining this tilt journal can help enhance your self-awareness and identify patterns in your tilt triggers. Document specific situations that trigger you, along with emotions you experience, your thoughts, and then the actions you take. Over time, you'll start to recognize recurring patterns and develop proactive strategies to address them before they escalate into full-blown tilt episodes. Congratulations, you're on the right path now! In our ideal scenario, tilt simply never happens. We channel our inner Broxah and try to stay calm no matter what's going on in the game.
He queued the wrong way.
In order to get there, you need to create a tilt prevention toolkit. Tip Prevention Toolkit is your checklist for all things to keep track of before the game even starts. The goal is to put yourself into the right mindset that should prevent you from getting triggered in the first place, allowing you to keep your head cool and play to your fullest potential. A tilt journal is going to be one part of that toolkit, so make sure you check the previous chapter of the video if you skipped it. Positive mindset. Make it a rule. Whenever something bothers you in real life, a hard day at work, some personal problems, or you just feel bad overall, you do not queue up. It's much easier to tilt when you're already agitated by something else happening outside of the game. On that note, do not queue up for the next game immediately after playing one, especially if you lost it. But even if you won, take a break to let your mind cool down a little. Having a quick checkup with yourself before deciding whether or not to play is a good measure to guarantee you're only playing when you can dedicate your full attention and positivity to the game. Lower your expectations. For yourself and for your teammates alike, but mostly for yourself. We often tilted ourselves when we make mistakes because we set the bar very high initially and then we play under its pressure. If you don't expect absolutely 1v9ing the game and carrying your whole team, you'll be more forgiving to yourself. Everybody makes mistakes, you are no exception, so why set yourself for failure by thinking the opposite before the game starts? Turn off the chat. If one of your triggers is bad mouth talk, turn the chat off. It's very unlikely that your teammates will say anything of value in the game, so it's better to turn it off at all and use the in-game tools to communicate instead. Understand that tilt is fatal to your game. I like my chances to be higher than 0. By giving up or rage quitting, you're effectively killing any chance to win the game. Yes, even if you stay calm and focused, unbothered like a Buddhist monk, you might still lose. But you keep a fighting chance and lose gracefully. You can never tilt your way out of an unwinnable game into a victory screen. Accept the unavoidable. You will lose games. Everybody loses games, there is no exception. Don't queue up to win. Considering how many things in the game are out of your control, it's a very unrealistic goal. If you queue up to have a good time and learn something new, you have massively bigger chances to succeed in your goal. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Assume the worst. Assume that your teammates will either be trolling or playing like a sack of potatoes. Assume you will be counterpicked and nobody will listen to your calls. Set the bar so low that you won't be disappointed if anything goes wrong in the game. But at the same time, it's absolutely crucial that you still hope for the best and can recognize whenever things go well for you and for your team. Remember, a tilt prevention toolkit is not about eliminating emotions entirely. It's about managing them effectively to enhance your gaming experience, and about putting you in a calm mental state before you enter the game.
I hate this keyboard. I fucking hate this keyboard.
We gotta face it. No matter the amount of preparations, we are not safe from a burst of rage when things start crumbling down in your game. What do you do if you're caught in the midst of action and catch yourself spiraling? If you recognize something's wrong before you click the quit button, congratulations! You caught your tilt right in the beginning and it's not too late to get things under control. I know it can be very hard when emotions are taking over, but here are some steps you can take that will help cool you down and get you back into the game flow. Turn off the chat. If you haven't done it before the game, do it now! When you're agitated, Negative chat messages can enrage you even more, even if normally you're indifferent to that type of talk. Or worse, you can start typing or speaking back in return and heat things up for everyone even more. Once you start getting angry or frustrated, it's a good idea to mute everyone, including yourself. Let go of the uncontrollables and focus on the controllables. This is probably the most important step. If you can master separating what you can control and focus on that, diverting your attention from the things beyond your control, you will save yourself lots of nerves. Take a second to remind yourself, this is a multiplayer game. There are 3, 4 or more people in your team who you don't control. You're not in their heads and not holding their keyboards or controllers. Since you can't influence them or change what they're doing in the game, you will be wasting your time and energy focusing on their bad plays. Instead, think of what you have control over and what you can change. All those things will be related to you. I can change how defensively I play from now on. I can change how much vision I put on my side of the map. I decide every move I make, and it's up to me and only me how well I play from now on given the circumstances. You can't change your trolling support, but you can always change things that you control, and this is the only factor of the game you should truly care about. Get rid of your ego and learn to be carried. Sometimes you will play bad. You will make stupid mistakes and let your teammates down. Nobody, even the pro players, is safe from it. Learn to recognize when you're a liability to your team. And accept that in this game you're not the main star, so stop trying to be one. Let your teammates go for kills and offensive plays if they're doing better than you. Every professional game has a strong and a weak side, and a pro player is considered good for the team when they know how to play both and not full strong side when they're clearly not. Don't make an enemy out of your teammate. Remember about the uncontrollables? You never know what's in your teammate's head, and it will help you stay calm if you don't automatically assume the worst when it comes to their decisions. Your mid lane might not be trying to feed the enemies by dying all the time. What if they're playing a champion they're not very familiar with, or a matchup they've never experienced before? Maybe your top lane was on the other side of the map when you were grouping up for an objective, because they refused to play with a team. Or maybe it was the 4 of you who shouldn't have looked for a fight without your 5th teammate. While lowering your pre-game expectations for your teammates helps put you in the mindset of caring only for your own gameplay, doing so in the game can add unnecessary stress. If you have the best intentions for your team, why wouldn't your teammates? Chances are none of them have queued up with an intention to lose a game. Shift your mind from one game to the big game. What is your goal when you open League of Legends, Valorant or any other competitive game? Chances are you don't say, win that one game. You say, I want to have fun, or I want to become better at this game. If that's what you'd answer, you have the right mindset. Your competitive gaming experience doesn't just consist of separate matches, but of the journey you take through them. When a game you're in seems unwinnable and you're ready to lose all hope, remind yourself that it's one single game, and winning or losing it will not change your personal progression, even if it's a promotional match. The only thing that can influence how far you'll climb is your improvement. All the best athletes know the importance of learning from their mistakes. Without lost lanes, lost matchups and lost games, you will not progress any further and will not learn something new. Let the pressure of winning a game go, and focus on playing your best and analyzing what went wrong. You need losses to grow, no matter how painful they are. And finally, breathe. I know how silly it sounds, of course you're breathing, but listen, it's very hard to stay agitated and enraged after you take a couple of very deep and focused breaths. Try it next time and see if you can keep the tilt. Deep breaths help regulate your oxygen saturation, slow your heartbeat and cool you down a bit, and by focusing on the breaths you shift your mind away from the tilt. Understanding the nature of your tilt in games and learning to control it will definitely help you grow within the game. But I think it's more important what it does to you not as a player, but as a person. If you play without tilting, you don't waste your mentality on something out of your control. And as the result, you will enjoy the game you're playing more. What's the point of putting a game over and over if the only emotions it brings you are the negative ones? By applying tilt prevention and elimination tools to your gaming approach, you will create a more positive experience overall and turn the game from your enemy to your friend. And if your goal is to climb and rank, your good mood and clear mind will be a massive help in achieving exactly that. Let me know in the comments how you deal with tilt in your games, and if you apply any of my tips to your playstyle, tell me how it went. My name is Solari, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week.